Okay, so we're recording.
You're up.
Hi, welcome to our very first podcast, Culture Power. This is our first series called Perspectives. And basically, we're going to be talking to people about their experiences with racism, anti-racism work, multiculturalness, diversity, all of it. Our first topic is going to be talking about what it's like to be in a multicultural relationship as a Black woman. So today, I have two guests, Shazmin Taylor and Christelle. Is it Lautner?
Hello.
Lotel.
Hello.
Yeah, Lotel.
Lotel.
Well, it's Crystal, but it's
Okay.
like spelled the French way, so you can say Christelle either way. That's
Okay.
what my husband says.
Okay, so I'll just start with you, Shazmin. Where are you coming from right now? Where are you? Who are you?
Right now, who am I? Jasmine Taylor. I am turning 35 this month. I have two awesome kids, and I'm married to my husband, Scott. I have been working in digital marketing for about a decade now, and focusing on this awesome project called Amaze, where I get to talk to young teenagers going through puberty and, having questions about LGBTQ, and, it's really just inclusive sex education. So it's really a lot of fun. And yeah, just excited to talk to you both.
Great. And where are you coming from right now? Where are you broadcasting from?
I am in New Jersey, Central Jersey.
That's right. All right, Crystal, your turn. You're up.
Crystal Lotel, 36, about to be 37. I'm in Geneva in Switzerland right now. We were previously in Marseille, France, just up until December. So we're newly relocated here. Me, I do sports philanthropy. So I do charitable works through our nonprofit association, which democratizes hula hooping to the masses and tries to give it legitimacy, basically, as like a proper athletic activity.
Okay, very cool.
I have a son.
Okay.
A son named Charles, who between my husband and I think he's like 12 different things, but when you look at him, you'd say black and white,
Yeah. So
And
do you
he's
identify
19
as Black
months.
yourself, or?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I'm multi-ethnic for sure, but I mean, my culture is Black. My parents are Black. You'd have to go back, to like great-great-grandparents before you start getting an admixture, so my culture is Black.
Like a lot of us, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
So you lived in the States before?
Yeah, till I was 30.
And then you moved to
From
Europe?
California. I'm from the Valley, from like Los Angeles.
Okay, so that's your journey to Europe. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's dive into this. I know that we all identify as Black, and as we've talked about just now, a lot of us are multicultural. Most Black people in America, in the world, are multi-ethnic.
Yes.
So I think, even that topic is really broad, because I think that a lot of us in the past have said, no, I'm not just Black, I'm multi-ethnic. And I sometimes wonder if that's contributed to the noise of racism, trying to
Surely.
yourself and separate yourself from it. So, Chaz, what's the most challenging thing for you lately as a Black woman with, all the racial turmoil that's coming up?
Oh man, this is heavy. I definitely think it's difficult, particularly because my children have, they're much lighter skin than I have. And, especially with my daughter, she's very fair skinned. My son's a little tan, but, they both have curly hair and everything. And so what has been difficult for me is that people clearly do not recognize me as my children's mother. I'm, seen as the nanny, the babysitter, just the hired help taking care of these two children. And it's something that I see within education, doing school tours and, trying to understand how they're going to take care of my children. But then you see them kind of trying to figure out things like logistically in their mind, behind their eyes, trying to understand where I fit in this picture with these two children.
Right.
So that's been difficult. And then also just trying to explain to my son, who just turned 5, about what we're experiencing right now, and helping him understand Black Lives Matter, helping him understand that not all cops are good, and that unfortunately people will not like us because of who we are and what we look like. And those have been very tough. Yeah.
What about you, Christelle? Have you had experience
your
challenge right now?
I was almost stumped by that question because it's so multifaceted. It's like which thing do I focus on? And then I hear Shazmin speak about her experience as a mom, which I can completely relate to, because my son, though he looks like me, could be white passing. Like he's fair. He's very fair. And when he was much smaller, you'd have these interactions with people that you just knew you wouldn't have if the baby wasn't so light.
Yeah.
And it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Very, very uncomfortable. And we use the term microaggressions. And I want to say that, like, I've never had someone outrightly, call me the N-word, right? I've never had that call to my face, but you have the kind of treatment that people give you, the invalidation of your feelings, or the type of service that you would get somewhere.
Yeah.
Charles.
Yeah. So, that goes into the next question. I mean, as a mom of biracial children, you're both experiencing similar things. The assumption that your children aren't your own. Is that the hardest challenge?
No one said, like, well, I had one lady ask me, like, is he yours? But that was the closest someone's gotten to asking if I was the help. And I responded by saying, doesn't he look exactly like me? So she got really flustered and started asking me, but where was I from? Trying to indirectly figure out, like, make it make sense for her.
Right.
Thankfully, that's the only experience so far. But I mean, he's so small still.
Yeah.
So
I've gone to a soccer game with my girls. This was years ago, and they're clearly white. They're not biracial. But a woman came up to me on the soccer team and handed me something and said, "Are you the nanny? Can you give this to their mom?" I was like, "No, I'm the stepmom." And she was so flustered. But yeah, just the assumption and just saying those things outright, you know what I mean? Like, think them in your head. You don't necessarily have to say them. So
like, your curiosity is my problem now.
Right. Yes.
So, you both have boys. There's a lot of stuff going on right now with how, the prison system and how Black men are perceived in this world. I have 4 brothers, so it's always on my mind. Will you raise your children as Black? Like, will that be your assignment to them? Or are you going to raise them as biracial?
Yeah, I mean, I've been reading a lot lately about, as we all know, the 1-drop rule. So I just feel like there is nothing else I can raise him as. And, it's funny, Hendrix actually gets excited when he gets darker in the summer. He's like, "Oh, I'm getting more brown like mommy." Like, he already kind of embodies himself as a Black child.
Yeah.
And, those are conversations I've even been having with my in-laws about just his overall safety. And, they're hyper aware now too, understanding, we have to teach him to behave a certain way to hopefully be treated better, even though it's not going to be guaranteed. That's all we can do is prepare him for these moments that are going to unfortunately affect him. And I know it's going to happen. And unfortunately, even at 5, I know it's going to happen. The first time I experienced not being, allowed to play with someone was 4. So I know it's coming.
Yeah.
It's preparing.
Your first memories are with preschool, kindergarten.
Yeah. It's sad that you have to prepare them for that punch in the gut. Christelle,
Yeah.
what about you?
Mm-mm.
I mean, you're in a whole different culture.
Yeah, that was like one of the things that made me confident to marry my husband, because it was very important for me, because you can't be mixed and be white. You know what I mean? Like, you can be mixed and be black, you can be mixed and be a bunch of other things, but you can never cross over into whiteness unless you pass.
Yeah.
There's just no other way to do that. So you can have white family and be proud of the aspects of those family members or that culture, but you can't be white, because it's just not possible. It's just not possible. So I say that I'd rather have like a Jesse Williams, you know, like fair and passionately, militantly black. So
Yeah.
what one can hope.
One can hope. So that brings me to my next topic. Being in a intercultural marriage, I've been trying to just kind of get away from just race, because that conversation, I think people kind of conflate race and culture improperly. And so I've had a lot of experience with European culture. It's nothing like American culture. It's much different. And I think people just assume that it is the same. So will you both tell me your experiences? Shaz, I know you have to leave soon, so you can start first. What has been the most enlightening thing that maybe you made an assumption about it, but being with your husband, that as a white man and as a black woman?
I think the differences between our families, just in like cultural behavior wise, has been very eye-opening to me. We both come from close-knit families. We're very close with our siblings, 4-person unit. But at the same time, I think there's differences in the way that we're raised, the expectations that were put on us, the opportunities that were available to us. His parents were lucky enough to pay for college for him, and here I am with all of this debt. Like, those little, the socioeconomic, situations that we're both in vary just so much. And I think also it's just like my family is so deeply, our culture is very much rooted in our cooking and our food. Like, that's where we find it. But I think for them, it's kind of more like their culture's everywhere. So it's just, it's on the television, it's, where they go to hang out or something. So that was eye-opening to me too.
That just gave me the chills, because it's, it's not a way that I've ever looked at it, that their culture is evident everywhere, but ours is actually through ritual within our families. Crystal, what about you?
I mean, for me, it was more of the fact that, we put a lot, how do I explain it? We have problems at home and we need to deal with them, but I feel like we give ourselves not enough credit, because Europe is not as advanced on the topic of race as we think. The white man in Europe isn't like the better white meat. I mean, my husband, he's great, but in general, they're just as ignorant, not willing to do the work. Their stereotypes are rooted in third world Africa. So it's like, when they say things, it's even more racist, because it's the wrong ethnicity, it's the wrong context. It's almost shocking, the representation that you don't see on television. I don't know, it's stark. It's one of the reasons why we ended up moving to Geneva, in fact, is because I didn't want to raise my son in France. I thought what kind of crazy complex he would have, being Black and American in France. We would have rather have come home.
Right. It's a very, very racist system. Shaz, can I say it? I'm really sorry. I'm sending you a hug. I love you.
Thank you.
I love you. I know it's tough to talk about family right now, probably your family unit. But clearly they raised a wonderful woman who's going to go on to raise wonderful kids. So before you leave us, I wanted to fast forward to, has your community changed at all? Have you lost any friends or gained any friends due to what's been happening over the last few years. I mean, in terms of race, because I can say that I have. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does your community even look like right now? Is it predominantly white? Is it predominantly Black, or is there a good mix?
I think in terms of my peers, it's predominantly white.
Mhm.
Grew up in, mostly white neighborhood and went to the schools. And I joined even, majority white sorority when I was in college. So that's always, been my surroundings. I will say, since I am going through a tough time with my family right now and loss, my family unit has just been so present that I feel like it's kind of
Good.
even right now, even evening out. But definitely, I've lost some friends in most recent years just from their actions. And, I felt the need to confront them, where it was just like, wait, what? Like, we've been friends since I was 10 and you're really believing this? Or you don't think my children's lives are as valuable as your children? That's an issue.
Yeah.
So definitely, but I think it's for the better, quantity over quality. And I think especially during this time in our country and the world with COVID too, it's just family and those who care for you correctly are the most important. Everything else just, it doesn't matter anymore.
Right. Crystal, what's your
That's
experience?
well said. I had been slowly cutting people off since probably 2012. You start seeing, it was during Obama, like Ferguson, that's like when it started, right? And you could just see the peppering of it on social media, and you just start cutting people left and right. And now, like Shazmin says, I keep the people who love me correctly close, and everybody else, you don't need the negative energy in your household.
Right,
So,
right.
Yeah.
I found like the best thing that to have come out of the last few years is that the core group it's honestly the core group. It's no longer BSing about who are all these people in your life, right? Like the people that you want to talk to and that support you. Okay, we've had some tears, all of us, like,
yeah.
girl, where you been? Hey girl, why is this, suddenly you're outraged? You know what I mean? This has been going on forever. So Shazmin, you're closing. I don't want to hurry you out, but we have 8 minutes left. I'm like the hard stuff. What's changed? Like, remember your life in the beginning, especially with your marriage, with your family, starting that family. Aside from the loss or maybe the gain of friends, who are you right now, and what advice can you give to someone, a Black woman entering an interracial relationship, multi-ethnic relationship, who might want to start a family? Like, what would you say to them?
I would say that I think I was completely aloof to what was going to, like, what my experiences were going to be. For me, it was just like, I just love whoever I love, like, not a big deal. I was naive. And then once you get into it, I think you have to maintain your culture. I think it's very easily, as my grandmother would say, to be a fly caught in milk and, just be completely engrossed in someone else's culture. So, holding on to your values, holding on to your hairstyles, just being truly you. And I think that's so important now, having biracial children. I want them to see that, mom is proud of who she is. And, I think having that confidence and kind of instilling what I can about Black culture into their daily lives. I think it's just so important and invaluable. So I think the most important thing is just stay true to you. And if your partner doesn't want that, then you can't be with them.
Don't waste your time.
Right.
Yeah, don't waste your time, like you said.
And what would you say in your mom community? Because clearly you've probably encountered moms on the playgrounds in the past years. What's lacking and what do you want to see more of in terms of understanding race and culture?
I think the lack of conversations. I think it's all surface. You meet these moms, oh yeah, such and such is signing up for this and blah, blah, blah. but you know, we're not talking about anything else. We're completely surrounded on the news, and we're all wearing masks and everything. So having these superficial conversations, just, it doesn't make sense anymore. I know there's like the whole like millennial mom, perfect mom, but that's out the window now.
Yeah.
So I think there's just this need to be real and honest about everything.
Yeah.
I've actually like run into some moms I know from daycare, like running to the store, and we've cried in the aisles, and like, because we're just like, this is awful, you know, what's happening. And I wish there was more of those conversations.
More realness. Crystal,
Yeah.
is it the same dynamic where you are, you know, the kind of playground mom, and the same questions apply to you too? I mean, what has changed from younger Crystal till now in terms of race and culture in your relationship?
Uh, a conviction to not be the token. So that means that you don't put up with, you know, slick things that are said. You shut down certain conversations right away. You feel compelled to educate people when they're spewing ignorance. And I think that with like my husband in particular, I had actually gotten to the point where I had sworn off white men. I'm sorry, ladies.
Okay.
I was like, I'm not going to date white men. And he wrote me for 3 months back and forth to try to get me to go on a date. And I ended up meeting a man that would do the work, you know, watch those 2-hour, 3-hour long lectures, read the books, listen to you quote from the books throughout the day or the night, take the time to educate himself, and actually had been taking the time to educate himself before he met me.
Right.
So if you're willing to be in the relationship with someone who's not your ethnicity, you have to make sure that they're willing to meet you where you're at. And even if you don't agree, taking the effort to see it from your perspective and educate themselves on where you're coming from, so that you guys can move forward together, and also for your children.
Yeah. What's the mom
it's
culture like there?
paramount. Ah, my God, because I'm in Geneva, which, you know, it's super bougie here. So it's even a little more superficial, I think. I've met some nice women through, like the baby gym got me to go to this mom and baby Bible study. And I hadn't been to church in like 20 years, but I went for the experience, and I met through that experience some really nice women.
Yeah.
So it's been superficial, or someone's willing to open up their home and invite your whole family over for dinner with their family and their kids. So it just really depends.
And what's the Black culture like there for you? Like your experience with it? Is there much of it?
I feel like there's, okay. So in France, if it's not this weird amalgamation of Black American culture, I would say that it doesn't exist for real. Here, I would almost say the same thing, but because I feel like the population is very multicultural, you see a lot of Black events for like Black business, Black millennials, Black, you know, restaurant owners, networking, multicultural events that I would not have saw if I was in France. So it's better, but I'm homesick, ladies. I'm gonna keep it real. It's not the same. I have to bring my son home for summers, I think, to try to give him just a taste of what his actual culture is like.
Yeah.
So
Jasmine had to sign off.
Fly-in milk is a good.
Yes. What a great, I said Jasmine had to sign off because she had a meeting, but what a
she's working from home.
Yeah. Fly-in.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is.
It's, what did she say? It's better to not be a fly-in milk, to represent your culture. Well, yeah. I mean, what do you want to see more of, and what do you want to change in terms of where you are now, instead of having to fly home to give your son the culture? What would you like to see more of or change?
I mean, representation in media would be a start, to be quite honest. It's like I have certain critiques about how we feel, because I'm able to, I want to say, look objectively at things because I've been away for so long. And so I feel like we are very much represented in Black American culture and politics in the everyday conversation with much effort on our side to make that happen, but we are. And over here, it's lacking.
Yeah.
I could watch TV for about 6 months and I'd seen like one Black person on television, and that happened to be some lady they were interviewing because she caught COVID.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
could start, you know.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, there we are, and we're here. But I would definitely have to say representation in media, representation in politics,
Yeah.
would be a place to start.
Do you think that's
The
coming?
babies can't see themselves.
Do you think that's coming soon?
With the younger generation, perhaps, you know, there's these generation, this current generation, I guess, what is it, Generation Z? There are some biracial, you know, like French and Black or Swiss and Black politicians, athletes, but no. I could not name a famous Black Swiss person that didn't do athletics.
Mm-hmm.
To save my life. If, you know, give me $1 million right now, I would totally lose.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's the state of things.
So as we wrap things up, and by the way, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about this. This is important. I think there are a lot of women out there who want to talk about this and they don't have the support group to do it.
Yeah, no. Thank you for asking me. I was a bit nervous. I think your project is amazing. And for having the bravery to do this is something.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like, you know, we had a lot of problems, but not enough solutions. So I really wanted to contribute something, at least for my family, you know, to show that we're actually trying.
Yeah.
As we're getting ready to wrap this up, what do you want? Where do you see for your 10-year-old son? Imagine your 10-year-old son's world right now. What would you like to see aside from representation in media? What kind of world are you planning for him right now?
Ooh, I mean, at 10-year-old Charles, I hope that he's proud of who he is as a person, that he feels safe, his access to opportunity, and doesn't think of pejorative things when he thinks of one side or the other, and is strong in himself to stand up when he sees injustice.
That's a great, that's good. That's a great way to sign off. I really appreciate you taking this time, and I hope that we can chat again soon. All right, take care.
Oh, I would love to.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. You're welcome.